Hello, and welcome to Your Brand Express podcast, the podcast where business owners, authors, coaches get a chance to articulate their processes and how they express their brands. With your hosts, Carl and CJ Aline. Get your favorite cup of coffee or tea and get a notepad and enjoy the ride. Are you a coach, author, speaker, or service provider who is afraid of speaking on camera? Join the Confident Video Star Nation to overcome your fear. Connect with other professionals, gain access to exclusive resources, trainings, and tools, and learn the skills to become a confident video star. Join now and start your journey to success. Go to Facebook and type in Confident Video Star Nation and join the nation today. All right, okay, everyone. We are hanging out with the amazing, the leader, Principal Gordon. How you doing today, Principal Gordon?
I am doing wonderful. I'm glad to be here.
It's great to have you on board, and we're going to get it more into what you do. And I just want to say though, I see you online. I see the different aspects of what you're doing professionally, and you share your life with it as well. And it's just cool to see your brand coming across our feeds on social media. So I'm like, we have to have Principal Gordon on. CJ, let's do it.
Let's do it.
So here we are.
Wonderful. I'm glad that you are following and actually seeing the work that I'm putting in. And I just hope that it continuously makes an impact for aspiring school leaders and current school leaders.
Right on. Man. It is. So why don't we get into it? CJ, you got some questions for us?
Let's go. I got a lot of questions for you, Principal Gordon. I'm pretty excited to meet you. One question I got is like, just for the audience sake, can you tell us a little bit what you do and kind of the audience you serve?
Yes. Well, I'm a 25-year veteran in education. Started off as a music teacher for about 6 years. And then I transitioned to becoming a school principal. Had opportunity to lead schools in various districts in the state of New Jersey, as well as in Philadelphia. I had opportunity to lead schools and students from preschool all the way through high school. And after many years of doing that, in 2019, stepped out of the role of leading a school to start Gordon Leadership Academy, where I was providing coaching and mentoring and for aspiring and current school leaders to really help them improve their performance and get the best results for the students and staff that they serve. So I'm grateful for the work that I'm able to do each and every day.
That's dope.
It is.
Well said, man. I'll tell you from my experience, I was always scared of the principal, but you seem like just first meeting you, you're really good. You sound like a really great guy, and I was looking forward to get to know you a little bit more too, and for the podcast as well. Yeah, I know. I was just in school a couple years ago, so
you know what it is, Carl, CJ. He makes it cool.
I know.
I grew up thinking I don't want to go to the principal's office. But now I'm like, hey, we're in the principal's office. Let's go. I want to learn. Show me more. We want to know about what you do. We're curious.
Right. Yeah, I think many times the situation where you say like the principal's office, it seems as a place for discipline and negative type of situations. But I always wanted the principal's office to be opportunity for communication, for connection, to really learn about the students, learn about the teachers. It's some challenges that even teachers have, but a place that we can really be in a safe environment to be able to talk about those challenges as a student, talk about those challenges as a teacher, and for me to develop that level 5 listening and really clear and really listen to what's happening and be able to support the students and teachers and even the parents that come to my office. It's a safe place, and that's what I believe the way the relationship of a principal through their school should be, as well as the principal's office. It shouldn't be a negative place.
Yeah, I agree with that. Actually, I think it's funny. I don't know. I don't want to go to a deep school analysis, but I do realize like that's true. Like sometimes the only time you really get called for is when like discipline happens, you get in a fight or something, and you go to the principal's office. But I love what you're trying to build. It reminds me of like a dean's office, like just a safe space to like just pour out.
Yes.
It's awesome.
Right. Good. And that's a really big deal right there. I mean, you're able to change people's perspectives. So you're taking your brand
And one, you're impacting a whole sphere of people from K1 to school, high school, and beyond, even the parents. And you also mentioned the staff in there. And that's a big deal. Of course, me being a parent, I'm a parent of five, my wife and I. And so, we, out of everything we're doing, we know we have to be connected to school and
Yeah.
making sure our kids are doing well and they're locked in. And, when people think about school, even nowadays, they think about a system. But with what you do, you're changing it on so many levels. You're bringing that leadership. You mentioned communication and connection. That's a big deal because we live in a world where in schools or businesses, wherever, when the day's busy and lot's going on, people ain't got time for that. But we have to, because those are the core things that's going to help us to move along as far as human condition. That's going to help us to be able to evolve and grow and change and develop and sprout the way we need to.
Yes. And I think that, those two words in terms of connection and communication, those are some key skills and characteristics that school leaders and educators need to have. You need the connections about develop those relationships with various stakeholders, the students, the teachers, staff members, nurse, guidance counselor, social worker, other administrators, connections, parents, you connecting with the community, okay, local business owners and store owners. Connection and relationship building is key in the education and having a positive environment, but also the communication. How effectively are we communicating with these various stakeholders about what their needs are? What are our challenges within our school? How can the various stakeholders help out in the overall living out the vision and mission of the school? So we talk about these qualities and characteristics of effective school leaders. Definitely developing your relationship building and connection is key, as well as your communication, and that's where you're going to be able to get a lot of forward progress in your school environments.
Oof, man, that, and so I'm like, okay, I'm a podcast host, but I got to put my parent hat on too. So I'm like, this is good stuff. This is stuff that we, as parents, we long for, but it's just that the challenge is we can't, for some reason, we can't articulate it. We have those pains and that you're talking to, but as far as having those needs met on any level, the staff, the leaders, and also the parents, because there's that connection, and the students, of course, they're the stars of the show, so to speak. It's just hard to articulate those things on a day in, day out. So what you provide, I'm not going to steal the show. I know that you're going to talk about it, but I'm just excited because it's cool to see how you provide that, and it's just, as a parent, I'm just like, man, we need this.
Yeah, I think that around this, parents need to understand that in the educational system, I believe they're the most important people. Okay, but they have to understand it, and many times there's some support that's needed for parents to learn about how to be a advocate and a better support for the students. And as school administrators would really understand that, they would really take opportunities to provide training and support for and parent workshops to help them understand their power, that their voice needs to be heard. And if they do speak up about some inequities and things that are not working effectively in the school or in the district, change will happen. So I have no problem with being a school leader that will call some parents to the side and say, this is what I need you to say. This is what I need you to ask. And this is what they talk, because the reality is there is so much that I can do in my role as a principal, even trying to influence an assistant superintendent or a superintendent. But when you are a leader that's properly educated and really shared information with a parent and allow them to make certain comments and make certain statements, that's when change happens. So the parents, if you're listening, you have a voice that's very important. Continue to develop that skill of advocacy and utilize it to really make an impact in the schools in your districts.
Talk about empowerment.
Talk about it. Exactly, CJ. I don't even need to say more. That was right there. That point right there. Your mom, by the way, CJ, mom needs to hear about this. I'll keep that in the podcast too. Mom needs to hear about this.
Podcast.
Principal Gordon, Can you explain the importance of professional development for educators, particularly those looking to advance to leadership roles?
Yes, professional development is really key, and the thing about it is, when you're as a school leader, I think school leaders need to understand the importance of professional development and also what effective professional development is. So when we talk about professional development, many times in our schools across the country, and I've seen it also internationally as well, I heard about it, is the fact that we have this one size fit all type of professional development. We're
Mm,
not taking an opportunity to really, again, this is about the relationship building, learning what are the strengths and areas of improvement for each of the teachers or groups of teachers in your buildings, and also developing professional development that meets their needs. So we could take a one topic in terms of just how teachers are connecting with students in a classroom. There might be a teacher that does it really well, has no problem. But many times we'll have professional development about how to connect with your students. That teacher that knows how to do it really well is sitting in that room is not for them. They're bored and they're not improving. But if you have a teacher like that, how about allowing them to work with the school leader and lead that professional development? Okay, share their experiences, share what they're doing. So right there is creating a differentiated model where now they're being utilized as a teacher leader. For someone that is, there might be a group of teachers that will benefit from a book study around connecting with their students. There might be some teachers that will be beneficial from leaving the building, leaving the district to go off site for some professional development around connecting with students. Only thing I want to say here, the professional development is really key and important, but to really make it effective, school leaders need to have differentiated professional development to really move the teachers and aspiring leaders from where they are to where they need to go. And that is going to really help them advance in terms of their capacity. It doesn't matter if it's a teacher, aspiring school leader, aspiring principal, the effective professional development is really key.
mm.
Wow.
I love that. And what had got me too, what got me with what you said was having staff in a meeting or professional development time, and they already know the principles, using them to help teach, leveraging the strength, the talent that you already have. That resonates because overall, that's a leadership challenge that a lot of different people face in different industries. And so as far as in the leadership role, it's so important to pay attention to that because on a human condition level, it's like that's happening a lot all across the board.
Yeah.
So to be able to, what you're doing, dialing in and providing that opportunity is a big deal. And I'm like, that's how you change it. That's how you change the system. That's
Mhm.
powerful. So kudos to you on that.
No, thank you.
Even to add to that, it's like,
Mm,
using people based off their strengths is super important. I see
right.
how connected you are with like your staff, your people. You're
Mhm.
invested into seeing like, the relationship aspect, but also getting to know who they are and what their talent is, where their skill is at. So if they can be utilized best in this area, then you would place them over there and you would look at, oh, maybe they could do this. I feel like they could be better over here. Like
Right.
I feel like that's super important in anything, but also in schools. I didn't think about that. Like there are some areas where teachers might be better like serving in this field, but that helps them to use their strengths and use what they're good at. That's a good eye to have. I
Yes.
acknowledge that. So
As we talk
Right.
about this type of strategy is effective across various industries, I think it also connects to the retention of good employers, good teachers, good educators, where they feel valued in the organization. Oh, yes, I was noticed, I was seen, I was heard that I have this gift, I have this talent, and now they're utilizing me to share my knowledge and information with others. If I had a thought about leaving the organization, leaving the school, leaving the district, I'd rather stay here where I feel valued than to go somewhere else where I don't know exactly how I'm going to be treated and so forth. Sometimes that type of environment will keep someone there, even if someone's offering more money in a different environment. So that type of strategy of really understanding your staff and team members and utilize them to help out and spread the knowledge is really key across various industries.
Mm. You know, when I think about that as well, Principal Gordon, that's powerful because, you know, for like I know I have, you know, as a coach, I have students with what I do too. And I also have a portion where I do movement to help their presence as well. And some teachers, some educators come to outside events, engagements to be able to get what they need as far as empowerment. But what you said right there, I'm saying that because those principles you're talking about, that resonates and that impacts educators even throughout their lives too, in different areas of their lives. And they're able to get empowerment and grow and but feel believed in with their talents. You know, we're talking about education right here, but you know, this stuff it's on different levels. It resonates to different areas of your life as well. That's what I'm trying to say. So that,
Yeah.
you know, that definitely resonates.
Yes.
So
Very
X.
thank you for that.
welcome.
Yes, sir.
See, yes.
Yeah, I got a question. What are some, so for educators or just anybody, what are some common, you know, challenges that they could face, you know, trying to advance your careers? I heard you say like you started off as a music teacher, I believe,
Yeah.
music teacher, and you made it up in the rankings to a principal. And what were some challenges even you face getting there, like, you know, in that process?
Oh, yes, definitely. So the challenge from making a transition from a teacher to an administrator, I would tell you, when I was making that transition, I probably sent out I know for a fact, over 300 resumes trying to get my first job. I went on about 50 interviews. And I live in the state of New Jersey. One time I traveled for an interview for 3.5 hours. And I was still in the state of New Jersey. Okay. The first question when I got there, the person asked, "Are you willing to relocate?" Because they knew where I was traveling from. But the key thing is, as you are a teacher and making the transition to becoming a school leader, you're really putting your information out to various school districts trying to get that opportunity. And sometimes it'd be disheartening because one thing that happens is that they see you making the transition, but they look at your experience and they say it's a lack of experience. Okay. You don't have any experience as assistant principal. Well, how do you get that unless you
Yes,
have
I'm
your first
saying.
opportunity?
Yeah.
Okay. And what I had to learn through this process is the fact of how do you utilize your experiences as a teacher to recraft your resume and also your answers when you're answering questions in the interview process that really demonstrate some experiences. So I want to just encourage those aspiring leaders making this transition, really get involved in your school in leadership opportunities. It could be running a Saturday program. It could be running a summer school programs. Any type of leadership roles, get involved and do it. Put
Hmm.
those experiences on your resume. And when you are answering questions that they're going to have for your initial job as assistant principal, they might talk about what are your experiences around curriculum development. Yes, you didn't have experience as assistant principal doing that, but you can talk about when I was leading the Saturday program, I worked with other teachers to write curriculum for the students for remediation in math or literacy. That is your curriculum development experience. Write that. Where's your experience working with teachers? You're a teacher now. You haven't had that role as assistant principal, but when I was working the summer school program, I was in charge of monitoring the staff attendance, making sure that they had the right resources and supplies. That gives credibility that you have some knowledge of how to work with the administrator, or sorry, the teachers to be able to give them what they need to be effective in the classroom. We have to utilize our experiences, create experiences, get involved in experiences as teachers, and utilize them to put on our resumes and also craft our answers in a proper way to show evidence that we can do the job. Once we get in the door, it keeps evolving from there. You get momentum, but the hard part is getting in the door. And I would say, some people say that there's educators that have sometimes been in the positions and in school districts for 25, 30 years. My mother was a teacher in Passaic High School for 35 years. That type of situation of a teacher staying in one district for those amount of years is not happening right now. There's a lot of movement after normally 5, 10 years, teachers are transitioning. But one thing I want to say is the fact that you definitely need to be able to, I think for me, all my experiences have really set me up to provide interview coaching for aspiring current leaders. Okay. I've been through various districts, various experiences, and now I know why God has put me through those situations, because I can help others make the transition and also advance their career. So part of, the things and work that I do is interview coaching, and it's based on my experience in various situations in various districts. So that's what's key at this very time.
Mm, that was rich. Yeah. There's a lot of things you can really nitpick from that. And one thing that caught me was just like kind of, you could say, dancing in like your what you have now, you know? And what I mean is just like you had what you could work with, right? You had everything you could work with before you could meet that door. So you used it to the best of your ability. You were making sure you were excellent there so that you have proof that you could be excellent elsewhere when the time comes, and when God prepares you, with all the experiences. You can't like kind of you can't teach experience, you kind of have to go through it, and that you can carry those things to the next field, which is principal. That's awesome. It's amazing. I
Mm.
caught that.
Yes.
Yeah, that's really insightful to be able to pinpoint that. One thing I thought about too was highlighting your talents. Not to mention talents before, but highlighting your leadership abilities. And as people, we don't always like to do that. So sometimes we're like, I can't do this or I can't do that. We talk more about that as opposed to what we can do and what we've been through, And they, like you mentioned, even hey, even working in the summertime at some kind of camp or whatever, and then using those skills, developing those skills, and speaking those skills, and let people know that this is what I've done as well. It all connects to some level, and it's for a lot of people, it's just hard to make that connection. So I love that you highlighted that. That does a lot for people. So yeah, this is rich, man. I'm
No.
loving this. This is firing me up.
Yeah, there's two things that both of you have said. First of all, CJ, you talked about excellence. And, one of the mistakes that inspiring leaders make is that they get in a job and they're looking so forward in terms of that assistant principal position, that principal position, but they're not doing the current position right now with excellence. Okay. That is really key. No matter what position you are, even if it's something that you don't see as your ending point, okay? Wherever position you're in right now, leaders, you have to do it with excellence. Do your best. Be to work on time. Be to work early. Put forth your best effort. If you don't know how to do something, you learn how to do it and put it forth with excellence. And for me, that was the turning point that got me into my first job. I was working started out as a music teacher, and then John F. Kennedy High School in Patterson, New Jersey, was converting their large comprehensive high school with 3,500 students to create small learning communities. And I was tapped to be the lead teacher of their Fine and Performing Arts Academy. And so I started that academy, working hard, building up the students, building up a team of teachers that work with these students that really are interested in fine and performing arts. But I was doing it with excellence. When the person that was in charge of that grant transitioned to become a principal of a charter school, he's the one that called me for my first job, because he saw what I was doing in the role when I was in that comprehensive high school. So working with excellence opens doors for you. And I just want to encourage our aspiring leaders, wherever role you are in right now, yes, it might not be your ending destination, but do everything with excellence, because you're being watched, you're being observed by other supervisors, your leaders, your parents, and that's going to open doors for other opportunities. The next thing that Carl you mentioned was about the word impact and your skills. When I also review resumes for school leaders, okay, and when the resumes come in there, it takes me 30 seconds to identify what the challenge in the resume, and this is advice that is going to be worth $25,000 potentially in terms of increasing your salary. One thing that was happening is on the resumes, they're pulling bullets of responsibilities. If I'm an employer, I'm a principal, superintendent, I know what a teacher does. I know what a assistant principal does, a dean does, and so forth. But what's going to be able to have your resume stand out from the other 300 that are coming across the databases and so forth is what is your impact? How have you influenced the current environment that you're in? What has been the increase of the literacy and math scores of your students? Okay. How has your role as a dean, how have you reduced the suspensions and referrals that are coming through your office? What is that impact? I've learned when I was making some transition later part of my career that I wasn't keeping track of my impact. I wasn't keeping track of my data and my improvements. So I just want to encourage those educators, even I don't care if it's your first year teaching, fifth year, 10th year, go back and try to track as much as you can, but keep hold of your statistics, your data, your numbers, because that is what should be incorporated in your resume. That is going to have your resume stand out from the other 300 that come across. And yes, I'm not exaggerating the numbers. For assistant principal position, there's about 300, 400 resumes that come in for one position.
Wow.
So you have to stand out. And the way that you're going to stand out is having the key words that are for that position that gets through all the artificial intelligence and reading the resumes before they get into the hands of a human. Then when they're in the hands, your resume is in the hands of a human, you have to show that you can make an impact, because what that is telling me as an employer, a future employer, is that if Carl made an impact in the previous school, previous district, and he initiated new projects and so forth, that's what I want to bring into my district or to my school. And and even though it might not be the same type of demographics or challenges, I see that as a forward thinker, as a problem solver, is going to move us to the next level. That's who I want to be in my district, in my school, a part of my team. And writing your impact and showing it on your resume, and also be able to express that in the way you answer questions in the interview process, that's what gets you the job.
I'm sorry, that's some free game. Yeah, make sure you writing this stuff down. That's
the whole podcast right there. That's
free game.
That's shoot, that's a block.
Awesome.
Keep track of your impact.
Yes.
Man. And even
good stuff.
Yeah, with that, well, kind of sometimes some people might be wondering, like, how do I keep track of it? Even asking people around you, like, sometimes we don't acknowledge the impact that we make, but even asking people around you, like, hey, what differences have I made, or can I do better in, and you could better yourself before you get that position. That's what's up.
Yes.
I love that. And that's great, CJ, because that's human connection. You know, you're able to get that feedback from people, and you're able to, that accelerates your growth. Good stuff.
Yes.
Principal Gordon, you should make a tool for that.
Exactly.
Create a tool for that.
Write that down.
Write that one down. Create a tool for that, man.
I don't think I've ever heard
track.
that.
Impact track.
All my resume classes.
Oh, that's important. That's important. It's important, because, like I mentioned, it's easy to not, and it's not about gassing yourself up or anything like that, but it's important to see the impact that you've made. And it's not about being arrogant or nothing, but if you don't pay attention to your impact, how can you make impact if you don't pay attention to it?
Yes.
So, oh, man, we might have to have a part 2 to this episode. I got a question for you, Principal Gordon. How can effective professional development benefit not only individuals, but also the overall school community?
Yes, that's what you would ultimately desire, is that when a teacher, when an educator is experiencing effective professional development, that they are growing, but because of that effective professional development, they have a positive impact on the students and also the school environment. And when we have to evaluate our professional development, okay, and I think that, yes, money is limited, resources are limited. So when we invest in teachers and aspiring leaders and leaders in terms of professional development, we always have to keep in mind, what is the impact and value to that person? And also, what is the expectation that is going to have on our school, our classrooms, and our environment? And you have to monitor that. And also evaluate, this is the professional development that happened and occurred. Did we get that return on our investment? If not, then we have to potentially make a decision not to continue with that line of professional development because we're not getting that return. we do not have money to waste in education. Okay, we have to make very intentional decisions about professional development that we're providing for our team members and staff. And also, we have to really keep an eye on whether or not this information is properly being applied and getting the results that we expected for our students in our schools.
Love that. It makes me think about that word intentional.
Yeah.
Keeping track, be intentional.
Yes. Yeah. And one thing about that intentional piece is the fact that as a leader, we have to have a vision. What's that big idea that we want our students to be able to do when they graduate from our school? And what is that vision that we have for our teachers that are providing that instruction in our classrooms? And when you have that vision, the next part is the mission. How are we going to achieve it? Okay. And if there's professional development that even a teacher is asking for, or things that you're considering that's not aligned to the vision and also the mission, then we got to say no to it. Okay. And it's easy to say no if it's not aligned to the vision and the mission. Okay. It might not be the right time. It might be some good professional development, but it might not be the right time at this period of time. And that is where we start, that we're intentional in terms of our planning. And if we're doing that, we're going to be able to stay focused on our mission and also achieve our vision much faster.
Love it. That's not easy too, to pay attention to what your mission and vision is, and to have the integrity to stay on task with it.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, many times we get distracted. It's a lot of good things out there, new initiatives and so forth. But if you keep having these various professional development experiences that are not focused, we're not making the traction, making the improvement that we desire in our schools.
That's super
That's a real
important.
deal. That's good stuff.
Yeah. Another question I got, what are some like specific strategies or tools would you recommend to educators trying to improve their development? Like what are some, yeah.
Yeah, so I think the first part of it is to develop the ability to reflect. You got to start by just thinking about where you are right now, where you want to go, what are your strengths, what are your areas of improvement. That's where it starts. And then from there is making some decisions about what do I need to do to close that gap from where I am to where I want to go? And that's through various professional development opportunities. It could be webinars, it could be joining various networks and social media to be around in an environment of like-minded educators. It could be attending state conferences, national conferences, reading books, having a coach, having a mentor. All those type of experiences close the gap to get you from where you are to where you want to go. But all sorts of reflection and then having a plan of improvement.
Love that. Yeah, I'd say like, or one thing I'm resonating even with the last 2 points is just like a plan is like having a vision, and a plan is just super important. Like it's crucial. You need it because it's kind of like driving like a parked car. Like it's like trying to steer a parked car with no plan or vision. It's like, where are you going? And you can't even go anywhere, So I love that. I think paying attention to your vision, or even looking at your weaknesses as a place of improvement. Because sometimes we could look at weaknesses like I can't do this, or like let it limit us. But like when you when we have weaknesses, they could be places of improvement or things that we can kind of laugh about. It's just like, we're doing better at it, and it'll help you just with who you're trying to become.
Yeah, I think that is really key. And many times educators get stuck because they're not in the right environments. They do not have a coach. They do not have a mentor to talk about these areas of improvement or weaknesses to be able to move them for the next level. So I think your environment is very key in terms of moving you from where you are to where you want to go.
Mm.
It's interesting too, Principal Gordon. I find, reflection is such a powerful tool, but it's one of those tools that for a lot of people, it's not attractive. It's not attractive and it's not the most, that's the thing I want to go towards. But it's one of those things. It does so much for you because it allows you to take ownership because you're the one thinking about it. You're the one navigating through it. And you're the one who, you're the only one who can as the individual can make that decision and be 100% all in. You have your mentors and be having the opportunity to have mentors is a great thing. But if you're not the one willing to reflect or may not know how to reflect, being taught how to reflect is important too. But it's hard to make that decision and make that change, even if you do have a mentor. So, but
Yeah.
I just find that it's one of those things that's not all that attractive, but it's so important, so powerful.
Yeah, exactly. And we talk about leadership, and everybody wants to lead other people. Okay. And I just want to encourage all of the leaders and aspiring leaders. If you want to be a leader, you have to start by leading yourself. And you have to start by learning that the ability to reflect and think about your areas that have to be improved, and you have to lead yourself to the next level. You cannot lead anyone else unless you start leading yourself, and that is really key in terms of the work that we're doing.
It's mic drop.
Mm.
Yep.
Oh, go ahead, CJ. I just thought about something real quick. I gotta say, do you notice that every question we're throwing at Principal Gordon, he has a call to action for every single one. That's
I
good.
know, that's amazing.
Dang, that's good. I just gotta say that. Mic drop, like you mentioned. Well, go ahead.
Awesome. No, seriously, like the call to action is so I appreciate it, one, because I think kind of telling yourself that again is just like, oh shoot, like you trying to lead what you got going on, and you struggle with leading yourself, like to wake up early and be disciplined. It's like, dang, like it makes me want to just go for it. But no, I that's a good point. Leading yourself is super important because if you can prove to you do a lot when you're leading yourself. You prove to yourself that I'm able to do this. You prove to yourself that I could be a leader. You prove to yourself that you're capable of these things, and if you're capable of it, you feel like anybody around you is just like, you can do this too. If I could do it, you could do it. And your example speaks louder than words, it's actions beyond yourself.
Yeah, it's interesting. I never, both of you as interviewers and so forth, you're listening very well. And I never really thought about the fact that my answers have this call to action, but that word action is really key.
Yeah.
Because we have this desire to do something. We have this desire to be leaders, be high performing school leaders and educators and so forth. But it won't happen unless you take action. Okay, you could sit there and have the greatest dream, the greatest vision, impacting many students across the country and internationally and so forth. But if you don't take actions every day, okay, it won't happen. And many educators are stuck right now. Okay, they are sitting around there and they're a little frustrated with their current work environment, frustrated where they are right in their career, and the reason because they are not taking action. Okay, anyone is listening to this podcast and so forth, I just want to encourage you, wherever you are right now, take one action today, okay? And you will get the momentum and it will keep moving to the next level. Even if that action is calling one of us just to talk about what you're going through, okay? So we can encourage you to go to the next level. That's what we're here for. That's why we do these podcasts, because we want to be able to spread this message about the importance of living your best life.
Right.
Love it.
Love it. Another thing, CJ, you notice so he gives these challenges. Principal Gordon gives the challenges, but they're gentle challenges, the gentle nudges. That's good. Those are some great leadership qualities.
That's a principal quality.
Hey, I'm saying it because I'm learning. I'm like, oh, I need to do that too.
Yes.
Principal Gordon, what are the key qualities and skills that school districts look for when promoting principals to superintendents?
Yes. So to be an effective leader, there are 6 leadership concepts that you really have to be able to implement and apply. And those leadership concepts are strategic leadership, instructional leadership, culture and climate leadership, organizational leadership, ethical leadership, and community engagement leadership. These are the 6 leadership concepts that I teach aspiring leaders to prepare for the exam to become a certified school principal. And many times what happens is they study these concepts, they pass the exam, now they're in the role of a principal, and they might spend a lot of their time on instructional leadership, but the other 5 concepts they're not really putting their attention to. What I have learned is that you have to like juggle and live in and work in harmony all 60 leadership concepts to be a high performing school principal as well as to have a highly effective school. And what superintendents and board of education members are looking for when they're looking for a principal to make that transition is about how you were leading your school or other organizations around these 6 leadership concepts. What's the impact that you were making? What are the strides you were making with the various stakeholders around these leadership concepts? And they want to hire someone that is effective and understands that to bring them that role of superintendent. But when they're in the role of superintendent, those 6 leadership concepts don't just stop there. They are continued at a superintendent level, but now you're thinking about it as a district. How is these 6 leadership concepts effective and active around the district and in each of your school? And how are you as superintendent helping your principals understand these leadership concepts and implement them effectively in the school? That is what's key and what's looked at when you're transitioning from a principal to a superintendent.
Break it down.
Break it down. And I love how you use that phrase high performance, because I think about high performance and the qualities you mentioned, and then I thought about the opposite of that. The opposite of that is like you won't be high performance, but I could only imagine. I'm not in that role, but I know there's a lot of things going on because I've seen my principal at work and I've seen my kids' principals at work and all that's going on. So you know there's going to be a lot going on, but it just seems like if you have like what you talked about, those principles, and you're able to get to that place where you could be that high performing one, you could juggle the principles and you can juggle all that's going on. And, you know, of course, you'll need your team and you'll be able to have a strong team, et cetera. So I love when you use that term high performance.
Yeah. I think that, I'm sorry, go ahead, CJ.
Oh, no, I was going to say, it reminds me of proactivity.
Okay, yes. And thinking about that whole situation of the juggling of these leadership concepts, I believe that, you know, in order to do this well, you need a coach and you need a mentor. Because when you're in the role, when everything's coming at you, parents are coming at you, the board is coming at you, students have challenges and so forth, it's easy to lose your focus around these concepts. But when you have a coach and a mentor that's working with you, they can identify and say, Carl, I see that you're putting a lot of emphasis around your culture and climate in your building, but right now you're not making any connections with the community. Okay, you got to have that coach to be able to identify that with you and ask you questions around that, and for you to understand what you can do to make a better connection with the community and increase your community engagement. But if you're doing this all alone, you're going to have, I believe, and I've seen it, you're going to have challenges. Okay, and that's why coaching and mentoring is so important in the education field and industry.
Wow.
There it is. Boom.
It's great because I was thinking about asking that. I was going to ask you that exact question, but it answers everything. I think, yeah, mentorships. You know, you hear the phrase like surround yourself around the wise people, you become wise. So it's like they'll show you what you can't necessarily see because you're so focused on what you're doing, but they'll see you from the outside, like, hey, like you're too focused on this, or you could improve in this area. Yeah, coaching, man. That's a life. That's a life.
Yeah, I would tell you, I didn't understand this in my career. Okay, it was about 2017 where I actually got terminated from my position as a principal. I didn't know what happened. I was embarrassed, And I took time during that time when I wasn't employed to really be in prayer and ask God, why was I so successful in these previous schools and districts, and now I'm having a challenge? And what was revealed to me is the fact that, Edward, you were doing this all alone in the past. You didn't have a coach and you didn't have a mentor.
Mm.
And I had to learn what a coach was. I had to learn what a mentor is, which are two separate people. A coach is a person that asks questions, that really brings things out of you that's already inside of you, for you can have your own awareness and own aha moments and take action steps for improvement. Then you have a mentor, someone that is doing the work that you're doing 3, 5, 10, 15 years down the road, has experiences and resources to be able to share them with you to move you forward. So I had to understand what a coach was and a mentor, and I had to get both of them in my life as an educator. And now I have them in in every area of my life. But I got back into leading schools. I did that for approximately 4 years, but still there was this call now, and God revealed to me in 2019, Edward, I took you through all these experiences in your career and all these challenges now so that you could be a coach and a mentor for other school leaders. And that's when the courage and stepped out of that role is so different from having a paycheck on the 15th and the 30th and then starting a business and doing this work it's not for the faint. Okay. It's been 5 years of ups and downs and mountaintop experience and valley experiences. But this is at this season of my life, this is what drives me. This is what I'm passionate about. This is what I love to do. And I just want to continue that message. And I appreciate the opportunity to be a part of this podcast, to be able to share my story and my journey, because I want more and more educators to understand to provide coaches and mentors for their leaders in schools across this country and internationally. It's really important to be able to improve their performance and get the best results for the students that they serve. And I enjoy waking up every morning. My wife, she understands if I get a phone call late at night or early in the morning. So I had a phone call yesterday. I was still in bed. So I was really trying to get some sleep. But I answer those phone calls of these leaders because I want them to tell me what's happening and the challenges that are happening, and so we can talk through it. And even if we have to do some role play before they go into that office and make the wrong decision, and then we got a bigger problem and bigger challenge. Okay, so that's what I love to do, and that's what I'm passionate about, the work that I do at this time in my life.
I love that, the giving back aspect.
Yeah.
You know, it's definitely out of yourself to do that. So just the willingness to like answer a call when you don't have to and pour into those people that's powerful. That's amazing.
Yes.
Right. I mean, this is Principal Gordon. We got to have you back, man. We got some more stuff to talk about, you know, and we would definitely want to be respectful of your time.
Yeah.
Where can people find you if they are looking to become a principal or a superintendent and they just need some help, they need some mentorship or coaching? Where can they find you online?
Yeah, so I'm gonna tell 3 things real quickly and very, very simple. So
Sure.
on Facebook, you can look me up as Principal Gordon, okay? And that's why you can connect with me on Facebook. On LinkedIn is by my original name, not Principal Gordon, is Edward W. Gordon II, okay? I welcome the invitation, the connection. I will respond, and you can definitely, through Facebook as well as through LinkedIn, direct message me, we'll connect there. But the third thing is, let's keep it simple. Call me, 973-220-5118. I'm gonna say that again. And I was gonna I'm gonna put a 1 before for those that are international as well.
Yeah.
1-973-220-5118. Give me a call directly. I have one number. There's no office number or anything else. I'm here to learn more about you, the work that you're doing, and any way that I can potentially help you on your journey, help your district. We provide training for teams, training for educators. We provide coaching and mentoring. If you're an aspiring principal or superintendent looking for preparation to pass the certification exam, we are here. If you need interview coaching, we're here to support you. And most people don't talk about it. Once you're certified, there's a large percentage of school leaders that don't make it through the first 2 years of being a school principal. We provide that ongoing coaching and mentoring to get you past those first 2 years and beyond. So reach out. We're here to support you.
Emotion. And
Boom.
that's that. Y'all just got
There
his
you
number.
have it. There you have it.
We hope you enjoyed our podcast. If you would be so kind, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, and or if you're listening to any of our platforms, whether it's Spotify or Apple Podcasts or whichever one, please be so kind to give us a 5-star rating if you enjoyed the podcast. And we'll talk to you soon.